asking the people of Iowa to do at the end of my speeches. And that is, do not defer your judgment to people who know less about who these candidates are than you do. Lead. You fight to be first. Lead. Do what you believe is in the best interest of this country. And secondly, be bold. This country is at a critical juncture. Do not settle for something less than what this country needs. You will have a victory, but you will not make the changes that are necessary to preserve that freedom and security for the next generation. So those are the two things I challenge you. One reporter said that it was an ask, don't tell, can't close. I'm asking you to be bold. I'm asking you to lead. And I'll let you make the decision. Why? Because I trust the people of Iowa. My website is, in the last 2.5 weeks, the #1 state of website visits has been Iowans. I know you folks think you're the center of the universe, but just the center of the country. Sorry, just the center of the country. I misspoke. But believe it or not, you're not the biggest state in the country. California is over 10 times bigger than you are. And yet, you have more searches than that, or Texas, or any other state. Why? Because you're doing your homework. You're doing the work that Iowans are doing. And I can't ask for any more. And that's why I'm going around and asking you to lead and be bold, to pick the candidate that you believe best meets what this country needs. I know you're worried. A lot of folks have told me, and a lot of the questions I get in the last week or so, can you win? Oh, one of the candidates today said, oh, he's unelectable. Oh, he can't win. Well, let me just say this. Show me any other candidate in this race who's ever won a state that we have to win in order to win the presidency. None of them. We have 3 congressmen who were represented heavily Republican districts. We have a Republican governor of Texas who ran as a conservative. How hard's that? In Texas. But again, not a swing state. We had governor of Massachusetts who ran as a liberal, both for the Senate and lost, and for the governorship and won, and didn't run for re-election. Why? Look at his poll numbers. My poll numbers were not much better, but I stood and I fought. If you want someone who's always looking at what the next political opportunity is, then you don't want a president like Rick Santorum. Because I'm going to stand up and fight for what I believe in when the political winds are for you or the political winds are against you. I remember talking to Shepard Smith today on Fox. He said, well, Rick, when are you going to get the drift where everyone else in this country has changed and your viewpoints are out of touch? And I said, the truth is the truth. Just because some people, or even most people, don't believe the truth anymore, doesn't change it from being the truth. And you stand for what you believe is the truth. If you're looking for that kind of leadership, then I think you should look our way. We stand up and we fight in good times and in bad. We stand up for the truth. We stand up for the values that made this country the greatest country in the history of the world. Am I the perfect conservative candidate? No, I am not. You'll find plenty of things that my opponents will point out. I've made my mistakes, but my convictions are clear and strong. They are consistent. I may have voted for a bad thing or two, but here's the key. I never advocated for the bad things. I may have voted for the bill that was something in there that I didn't like, but I wasn't for the things that were inconsistent with my values. You make compromises, and sometimes you make bad ones. And I admit that on occasion I've done that. But you'll never find me out there violating the principles that are at the core of my being. And if you want someone, as Ronald Reagan said, trust but verify. And that's what Iowans have been doing. All the Republican candidates are saying how conservative they are. And Iowans are saying that's great, it's a hard decision. Most Iowans have been very undecided until the last couple of weeks. Now they're starting to decide. Why? It's the verify time. It's the time to show up at the town hall meetings. It's the time to look at the records, listen to the information you get, and verify whether what they say they're going to do is actually what they've done in the past. I get a lot of critics who say, Rick, you talk too much about what your record is, and you should be focusing just on what you're going to do. That's what all the other candidates do. And look, they've had their moment. And I said, if I had their record, I'd just talk about what I was going to do too. But I've got a record I'm proud of. And I want you to know that when I say I'm going to do something, you can look back and say, you know what? He's always been there. He's always been there. He's always fought for those things, because it's not just here, it's here, and it's here. And so if you're looking for someone like that, then I hope you know what to do. And that's get out on caucus night tomorrow night, 24 hours from now. Get to those caucuses. Stand up and ask your caucus goers for help for Rick Santorum. Stand up and walk around that caucus and campaign for me. About a third of the people showing up to that caucus, we've been told, are going to be undecided. Help them decide. You want to make a difference here in Iowa? You can do what Iowans do best. You can ignore what the pundit class, you can ignore what the moderate Republicans who tend to always say, oh, we got to win, and we need a moderate to win. And Iowa will stand up and say, no, we need to be principled to win. Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. We need to have... Send a message from the heartland. Do what Iowa does, which is to make sure that a conservative is in the mix, one that has a record that is consistent and of accomplishment, not just political, but also in getting things done in Washington, D.C. If you do that, as you know, we have folks, journalists here from all over the country and all over the world. You will not just send a message to Iowa or the Midwest or to the Republican Party. You will send one to the country and to the world as to what Iowa, the state that will know the candidates better than any other, believes is the best person to lead this country. And I hope you choose me. Thank you all very, very much. I appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and talk to the crowd out there so we can not just be talking to you. There's another big crowd out here, so let me go out and do that. Let me thank you all very, very much. I'll take like 2 quick questions otherwise, and I'll do the same out there. But yes, go ahead.
After elected, how are you going to get both sides of the aisle to work together to do the people's work that they were hired to do?
The best thing you can do to help get the people's work is, the old biblical passage. Without vision, the people shall perish. And one of the things that leaders should do is try to find a common set of values that we can all agree on, in which we can go forward. It's very difficult to find solutions when the premises from which you build your answer are radically different. And what this president has done is divide this country into 2 groups of people who have very different views. And he has done his best to divide and hope that he can get enough people on his side to ram through what he wants, instead of finding consensus on how to build this country together and stronger. This is the most divisive president, in my opinion, from his political rhetoric, of any president in my lifetime. And then he wonders why he doesn't get any cooperation. He goes out and individually vilifies members of Congress. He vilifies anybody who opposes him. He vilifies repeatedly the past president of the United States. Blames him for everything. Blames everybody for everything other than him. Let me promise you today, and I know there are people in this room who will record it and keep me to it. I will do my level best that once I am sworn in as president, that I will never say the word Barack Obama again, at least when in the context of saying a problem that we're dealing with in America that's his fault. Americans know that Barack Obama was handed a tough deck. Americans will know that Rick Santorum, if I become president, will be handled a tougher deck. I don't need to continue to rub salt in the wounds of folks who may have lost that last election and create that antipathy that the president has. I need to work with folks to get things done, to shrink the size of government, to grow this economy, to make us stronger and safer. And you don't do that by dividing. You do it by bringing people together. One other question I had Was it you?
What do you think is the biggest hurdle between now and your nomination, and how are you going to overcome that?
What's the biggest hurdle between now and my nomination? You know, 10 days ago I was at 4% in the polls, and look at what's happening here. Here's what I believe. Here's what I know, is that money isn't going to win this election. If that was the case, I'd be below every other candidate. It wouldn't even be close. When we report our financial picture, it's going to be embarrassing, except for the fact in the last 4 or 5 days we raised more money than we have in the last 3 or 4 months. We've done very, very well, and we hope to do a lot better after tomorrow night. But we're not going to run a big campaign. We're not going to hire a bunch of experts and staff, and we're going to run the campaign that keeps continuing to interact with voters, that is accessible and accountable. We're going to do our best to be lean and mean and set an example that you can win the presidency that way, and you can govern the country that way. And we believe that's the best approach. And we're going to go to New Hampshire. We're going to campaign there nonstop. We're going to get up on television. We're up today on television in New Hampshire. We're going to increase that by steadily as the week goes on. And we think we can compete there. Obviously, you know, Governor Romney's been running there for many, many years. But we think we can do well. And we think we can do very well in South Carolina. We've got a lot of folks from South Carolina here, but in fact, a bunch of them right behind me who've come up to help. We've got legions of folks. Got a couple of dozen state reps that are helping us in New Hampshire. And you go to the Bedford office in New Hampshire tonight, I guarantee you'll find it full of folks who are making phone calls and who are working, as they have been for the past weeks and months. We've got a great team on the ground, and we are building that team. We're getting calls from all over the country and have been for the last, not just the last week, but longer. And we'll continue to do that and build a operation just like America works best. From the ground up, from the bottom up, believing in you and believing in free people. Thank you and God bless.